It's somewhat ironic that though Rolex has a plethora of sports models in its current catalogue, one of its most sought after and revered models is the humble Explorer. I say ironic because whilst the Explorer is an iconic watch, it's probably Rolex's most understated and subdued sports watch. The Rolex Explorer has been a mainstay of the brand's lineup since 1953, when it was introduced following the successful expedition to the peak of Mount Everest by Sir Edmund and Tenzing Norgay. Both men were given watches by Rolex to wear to the summit, and it's in honour of their achievement that the Explorer was named. Since then, it's become a staple of the Rolex collection, undergoing several updates over the decades. Of course, the elephant in the room is that Rolex models are exceptionally hard to come by these days. However, that's a story in itself, so I'm going to set that aside for another time and focus on just the watch itself. Despite its reputation, at first glance, the Explorer might seem a fairly humdrum watch. The specs are, after all, identical to that of Rolex's entry model, the Oyster Perpetual. However, the specs aren't what makes the Explorer special. What does is how Rolex has executed the latest version of a design that's existed for nearly 70 years. Whilst the previous Explorer was 39mm, the current Explorer has made a welcome return to the 36mm Oyster case that's been traditionally used for the model. Contrary to popular belief, the case is made from 904L steel and not unobtainium. Rolex uses 904L because it's more corrosion resistant and takes on a better shine when polished compared to the more commonly used 316L steel. Whilst the classic Oyster case is nothing new, I was immediately taken in by its beauty. The case sides have a subtle curve and the smooth polished bezel looks exceptionally crisp. Combined with Rolex's incredibly high standard of finishing, the Explorer feels downright luxurious to hold. The Explorer features a twin-lock screw-down crown which helps give the watch its 100 metres water resistance. It's not a particularly high rating, but for the average wearer, it'll be all you need. The watch wears very well on the wrist, being a relatively slim 11.5mm thick. In fact, it's one of the most comfortable watches I've ever worn, and I could easily forget that I was wearing it. The lugs are 19mm wide, and while this is an awkward size for aftermarket straps, it allows the lugs to be a bit thicker and therefore stops the case from looking too dainty. The bracelet feels very solid, and its drastic 5mm taper helps the watch feel quite dressy. However, the clasp doesn't feel too small, and like the rest of the watch, it feels very well made. Though, whilst the Explorer does fit me perfectly, it would be nice to see the glide lock on-the-fly micro adjustment feature on the clasp. Instead, your only option is a 5mm extension link built into the bracelet. Anyone even vaguely acquainted with the Explorer will recognise its iconic dial layout, and in its current form, it looks as striking as ever. Beneath the sapphire crystal, the white gold markers glisten nicely in the light, with the crisp chromolite lume that fills them contrasting brilliantly against the rich gloss black of the dial. At night, the chromolite emits a steady blue glow that's very easy to read in the dark. One thing that did surprise me was that the hands are thinner than I expected. This means that at times the watch isn't as hyper legible as I'd assumed it would be, but it's still by no means difficult to tell the time. To the naked eye, the hands are perfectly finished, and the surface of the hour and minute hands is actually rounded. This creates some fantastic light play throughout the day, and it's the sort of refinement you expect from Rolex. Inside the Explorer is the Caliber 3230 automatic movement. This 31 dual movement was introduced in 2020 and features the latest technology Rolex has to offer. Such features include Rolex's patented chronology escapement, Paraflex shock absorbers, and a Parachrom hairspring. It would take too long to explain the workings of these proprietary features in detail, but in short, they decrease the effects of things like magnetic fields, shocks, and temperature changes on the movement. The chronology escapement is also more energy efficient than that used previously by Rolex. It's part of the reason that the Caliber 3230 boasts an impressive 70-hour power reserve. The 3230 is naturally COSC certified and it should be accurate to plus or minus 2 seconds a day, though this one has actually only gained a second in a week. Overall, the 3230 demonstrates what Rolex does best: produce incredibly accurate and durable timepieces that are as functional as they are beautiful. It might seem like I've gushed over the Explorer in this review, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that I was yet another Rolex fanboy out to lick their boots. But the truth is that I'm actually incredibly put off by the current state of the Rolex market. I hate the games you have to play to buy one from an AD, and the incredibly inflated second-hand prices. However, despite all that, when I put the Explorer on my wrist, I completely understand why the brand is so highly regarded today. The design is just incredible. Every element is perfectly proportioned and the finishing is very good indeed. If you're the type of person who only wants one watch, then I don't think you can go wrong with the Explorer. It's a superb blend of understated refinement and technical achievement. This is a tool watch that's simple, but where every aspect of it has been pushed to be the best it can be. You can wear it in practically any situation and it'll keep great time. So I guess you could say that I'm something of a Rolex convert, and I'll admit that I wouldn't mind adding the Explorer to my collection. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed the very first review from the new 12 and 60 brand. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more, and leave a comment with what you think of Rolex and the Explorer down below. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!